not gonna lie, I'm a big fan of ARGs. From analog to digital, I enjoy when people set up a story through the medium of the internet. I especially like how it uses nostalgia as a tool for eeriness. The problem is, a lot of them just rely on cheap jump scares, especially ones that don't really add much and end up taking away from the experience. So I was really surprised in 2021 when I found an ARG that I initially didn't even know was an ARG. It was made during the height of the Mario ARG craze, a period in 2020 where the liminality of Super Mario 64 was being explored through horror content. This was kickstarted by the Super Mario 64 iceberg and spawned a lot of media, but none were as special as I would consider our subject matter, a piece that lived briefly and died ungracefully, covered in 2021 and forgotten by the internet. Today, I thought I would shake things up a bit and focus on something I haven't been doing in a while, covering weird stuff I found on the internet. Join me as we burrow deep into this rabbit hole and cover a story that's long since been forgotten by the internet.
On June 12, 2020, a mysterious channel named the Super Mario 64 Beta Archives appeared. This is often abbreviated as SM64BA. 5 days later, it uploaded its first video. Let's take a look. The video features the cover for Super Mario 64, with an altered version of the Star Power theme playing in the background. The description claims it's a scrapped version of the theme found from a developer's archive. This sets up the premise of the channel. It supposedly uploads old, scrapped content from Super Mario 64's production, and the person who runs it is dedicated to uploading all of it. The only anomaly here is that the video cuts out briefly 30 seconds in. I'm still not sure why it does that. Their next video would garner much more popularity, and you might have seen it yourself. It's simply titled Anti-Piracy Screen, and that's exactly what it is. It shows the game's start, and the internal software detect that the game is a copy, revealing this screen with Bowser's laugh and the Game Over theme in the background. It shows a worried Mario atop the N64 logo with orange text in English and Japanese stating that piracy is a serious crime. It sits on the screen for a while before cutting out. The description says that the owner's friend encountered this while playing a dusty cartridge, confirming this channel to be run by a single person. The third video is apparently a very old version of the music for Hazy Maze Cave ripped from the same cassette as the Starman theme. It takes more from the original Underground theme than the final version. Another weird thing is that the cover is slightly altered. Mario's foot is above the sidebars layer. A subtle difference, but not an explainable one. The next one is simply titled Developer Crash Handler. Let's take a look at what happens when the player tries to check and erase a file. The text in Japanese reads, "Game crash. Please send this error code to the programming department," with S17 and L15 blinking on screen. The description states that this is closer to the release of the game and that we can expect, quote, more interesting stuff coming soon. What's curious about this is that there's a signature, EB. This is the first time this person's identity has been revealed, and we'll be sure to check back later. This next video is interesting, called Developer Animation Showcase. It opens with text saying Ultra 64 Mario Bros. Animation Demo Reel, suggesting Ultra 64 Mario Bros. Was the original name for what we now call Super Mario 64. We also get a date in the form of the copyright information, 1995. The video showcases some animations and models for Mario and Bowser. The description says that all of Mario's animations used real human reference footage during creation. At the end of the video, there's an animation of Mario drowning. Very subtle, but very off-putting with that new context. He said that he had this video because he helped work on it, explaining his access to all the footage and possibly suggesting a motive. Let's check the credits. There are 4 names in Japanese that I can't read, and those people covered the animation and sound. But there's a 5th name in the video editing section that uses katakana. In other words, it's a foreign name. Enrico Benetto. Eric Bennett. EB. We have his name. God, I knew learning katakana in 7th grade would help someday. The 6th video is an unsettling older version of the castle theme with no description. You can see the page turn icon in the top right corner is missing, continuing the trend. The next video is a scrapped radio commercial for Super Mario Ultra 64 Eric found in his closet. He goes on to explain that it was probably an early concept of a commercial before the game would get delayed. The commercial also says you can buy it
just in time for Christmas.
But the game was released in June 1996, not December 1995. This begs the question, why did it get delayed? The Nintendo 64 was revealed to initially be called the Ultra 64, and a robotic voice at the end shouts, one of their slogans. Early Castle Grounds is the first video where we get gameplay, which Eric says is dated to around 2004, nearly a decade later. Mario approaches a message that says, -1328, 260, 4664. Eric, this particular one's for you. I know you're sort of busy with other things right now, like investigating, but can you please set spawn this time? Please with cherry on top? Mario walks around some more, and the map is littered with unfamiliar textures, models, and sounds. Look at that castle! Ew, it looks like someone shit on it. He encounters a sign that says, "Fix this fucking sign, you morons," and another one behind the castle which says, "Welcome to Behind the Princess Castle. You certainly like snooping, don't you? Please enter the castle quietly so nobody makes fun of you." Tip. This isn't the first secret of the castle. There is a slide, a mirror, and so much more possibilities. Did you know that every line you walk in, the castle reads your every sound? That may sound very scary, but there is nothing to be afraid of. This is the magic that the Power Stars create. Power Stars will always be forces of good, unless someone very evil gets their grubby paws on them. I know who they're really talking about, but I'm still very offended. Mario goes off exploring again and finds a third and final sign. If you stare at things long enough, they begin to change shape before your very eyes. Sometimes our eyes will deceive us. Never consider the benefits of being skeptical. After all, we all live one life. This life. You know, I'm beginning to wonder if they ever did the thing they said they would. That day when they scrubbed these things. I shouldn't be scrolling through these text boxes so fast. There's probably important information on it. Probably not. I'm so tired. I've been awake for hours. What? This dumb thing's copying me? Oh. Yeah, I remember now. Real fancy. Real fancy. That... Holy shit. So, the game has access to the player's thoughts and can reflect them into the game. This is solid evidence that this was inspired by the every copy of Super Mario 64 is personalized creepypasta. The video after is called Render Showcase, and it's a slideshow of renders of Mario. At 37 seconds in, it cuts to a dark screen and the music stops as this picture fades in. It appears to show a dark version of Bowser looking down at a small Mario. The video continues as normal 10 seconds later. The description says the video project corrupted halfway through and he needed to recover it. Weird, because that's exactly when the dark render happens. Wing Cap Tower GUI comes after, and the description says it's why Eric's, quote, going to go see someone. Just a fair warning, he's pretty justified in saying that. It was recorded on 3 different dates. The first is August 16th, 1995. Mario spawns into the Wing Cap course and a text box appears. Wing Cap course text. Eric, please fix the fucking flavor text. It's been 2 weeks now. Blah blah blah, press the red switch and you can get the wing cap. We haven't even implemented the damn wings on his hat yet. I need the guys to give me the placeholder textures. Why do you always screw up? Dan. Maybe Dan was also writing those signs in early castle grounds? Mario flies around and hits a tower, falling to the ground. A screen spins in with what appears to be neurological results provided by Argonaut Reporter V2.1 labeled Participation. Heart rate? Normal. Neuron C? Theta. Imagery? Normal. Current status? Irrelevant. Let's see what that means. Irrelevant is a status typically assigned by the system when something else is interfering with the game reading. This occurs when participation focuses half on elsewhere. Such things typically happen when someone loses something they can't find. They range from objects to living things. What exactly was lost? If you're concerned about this, please switch off the console and consider your options. Thank you. He sits on the screen for a while before pressing A. Another emerges. GUI developed by Meg Moberly. Say thanks on the way out. Give me a call if you need me. Below is a stylized depiction of Meg. Mario spawns in the main area and enters the castle, only for the game to crash. November 16th, 1995. 3 months later. The sky is sunset orange now. Shoshinkai or whatever is getting close, Eric. You need to get this done or we're cutting the stage from the demo. I still haven't heard back from the guys at the art department, so we might just cut the entire damn flying section anyway. Come on, Eric. Do me a solid here and get this done. Now. Are you missing someone right now? Dan. Shoshinkai was the former name of Nintendo Space World, an exhibition where Nintendo announced and demonstrated their games. Mario falls in the same way, and the same results pop up for a bit before cutting to another reading on Argonaut V2.2, the next version. Heart rate? Acceptable. Imagery? Normal. Irrelevant Type 2. Irrelevant Type 2 is a status typically assigned by the system when something else is interfering with the game reading strongly, either physically or mentally. This occurs when the equipment or the participant does or receives something the game cannot recognize. Such things as other people, magnets, and heavy emotional brainwaves can cause this to happen. Please switch off the console now, regain composure, check the equipment, and start again. Thank you. The drawing of Meg has been updated. August 7th, 2020. 12 days before this video premiered. Mario spawns and the sky is dark, resembling nighttime. Eric, I'm so sorry. But it's all your fault. He glitches and silently falls. Heart rate, abnormal. Neuron C, beta. Imagery, abnormal. Current status, panic mode. Game assets and levels at risk. Press A for more details. Please remove all staff from the room. Please seek medical attention. Panic mode is a status typically assigned by the system when participation is completely non-existent. This is all your fault. Meg appears on screen soon after. Dear Eric, you have just put the combination in that I told you before we shipped the cartridges off to Space World. This means you desperately need my number, which I can provide right here. If my number has gone out of order, you can find my parents at their address. Say thanks on the way out. The game crashes. Wow. What the fuck? Okay, Let's dissect what's been happening. I think we need it after all of that. Eric Bennett was a part of the development team behind Super Mario Ultra 64 and now runs this channel. His uploads have proven the beta of Super Mario 64 can detect the player's brain activity and alter the game accordingly. The game experienced significant developmental setbacks that forced the team to postpone release by half a year. These setbacks were probably due to miscommunication among creators, including Eric, who was chastised by Dan, a higher-up of some kind. Eric has been in distress over missing someone, impacting development and eventually leading to a falling out. Considering the game's assets depend on the sanity of the player, his emotional damage could have resulted in corruption to the game. Maybe even him. Or others. Let's proceed. Scrapped System BIOS is the next video. The description is from Meg, the person Eric was referring to when he needed to, quote, go see someone. It reads, now that I'm here too, I can show off some cool stuff from my personal collection. Here's an unused system menu that went pretty far into development for the N64, using lots of features not present in the retail N64 like an internal clock, save management, and a system that automatically applies settings to the user. At this point, the console's shell looked mostly the same, but the interior was much different. This implies the video is from when the game was further into development. The video begins with the N64 boot menu, with dialogue saying, can you fix the save routines to the save pack or whatever they're calling it? Thanks, I suppose. The last thing we need is a broken game. Argonaut working on this game with us is important ever since that incident happened with that one. The system crashes and reboots, revealing a home menu designed by Argonaut. This is interesting because the N64 doesn't have one. The date is revealed to be Tuesday, October 24th, 1995. The user investigates the menu with 4 buttons: Game Pack, Save Pack, Calendar, and Options. They go to Options and select Setup Game Sync. The interface has text reading, Game Sync. The Nintendo 64 game console has a built-in function, using the controller and the player together, to create a new experience in the console's games. This function is called Game Sync and requires a one-time setup, saved to the console's internal memory. The player initiates the sync, prompting instructions to position your thumb like this. This is how the game reads your thoughts. After comes Snow Ravine, the first gameplay content with voiceover. This is dated to June 24th, 1995, and Eric is recording it to show the team the progress he's made on Snow Ravine, a conceptual level at that point. He was living in Japan to help develop and localize the game full-time. As he's recording, he's remotely talking with Meg, and he also mentions flying back to America to check on a person named Casey. The video cuts out at 6:20 and a future clip plays. Dan walks into the room and talks with Eric.
Shit. Oh, I'll be out now. You're just in time, right? Did you get a haircut?
Yeah, I got the one where they do nothing but charge you randomly. No, I didn't have a haircut. But I did start.
Are you up for coffee later?
Eric, man, work on the game first, okay? We'll get coffee some other time.
Yes, sir.
The next video, called N64 Employee Tape, was uploaded on Halloween of 2020. It's an informational video on how to set up the N64 for playtesting. After the cleaning section, the playtesting section shows how an employee should set up a playtester. Playtesters need to sign an NDA and a waiver. It goes on to explain.
The playtester begins to show signs of a panic attack. The playtester is sick or needs a break. The playtester is experiencing a feeling of deja vu. The game crashes or locks up. The game ceases to play background music. The game begins to lag heavily for seemingly no reason, or the game displays the playtester's name.
That's weird. At the end, we get a portrayal of Dan, Daniel Newman specifically, and then the tape cuts out. But the narrator begins talking with another dude. He forgot to turn off the mic. Some information is revealed here. The non-narrator, Dan, dislikes Eric, which was hinted at before, but not this bluntly. The narrator also states that the moment Eric told someone he was afraid of water, the water disappeared from the game's map. Classic example of the game adapting to the player. But it was actually just a joke by Dan because GameSync wasn't even enabled. They also mentioned the drowning animation seen before by referencing, quote, that kid in the animations. Dan says it wasn't real, but the narrator isn't fully believing that. The narrator calls for Meg and they have a discussion.
I can't find Eric. I think he might have left.
Did you have another moment?
Shut up. You know it's not a moment. And why are you using my camcorder?
Well, Eric said he let
I
me...
told you not to fucking use this.
TLDW. Dan's kind of a bitch. The next video is the music used in the informational tape. Meg says she's on the road with Eric. Summer 95 build comes a bit later at the very beginning of 2021. It's a video recorded by Eric discussing Nintendo's partnership with him and his company at the very beginning of the project. He addresses the video to someone, we don't know who, but he talks about meeting his superior Dan and his coworker Meg. The next video... Wait. The next... That's it. But the story... Where did it go? What happened to Eric? Why was he so distressed? Where did they travel to? What about the letters, S and L? What did they stand for? What did it all mean?
Sadly, these questions will forever be unanswerable. In January of 2021, many creators came out and gave their stories. Apparently, the main creator of the series enlisted their help, and everything was fine at first. but they mistreated the creators later when the project got popular. This caused some of them to leave, notably Mario Nova, to which the creator used their work without permission in retaliation. This culture caused a falling out, and it killed the project. Some creators left for another channel named the Tim Mario Archive, which is a parody of the project. Beautiful. It was really sad for me to see this one go when I first found it. In fact, the first video I watched was the Starman theme, and the only thing that tipped me off that the channel was an ARG was just the creepier stuff that came after. SM64BA was special. It was an ARG that didn't act like one. There were no jump scares, no frequent distortions, no glowy, bloody eyes. Its horror revolves around the vibe, subtle details that add to the eerie atmosphere. It allowed the viewer to piece the story together and admire the effort while doing so. When I saw it 2 years ago, I wanted to make a video on it. So, I guess here we are. I really hope something like it comes back someday, without all the drama and abuse. None do it quite like this channel. Thanks for sticking around. This is a big diversion for what I've been doing recently, and I hope you enjoyed it, even if the algorithm probably won't. Regardless, I had a great time looking through this creepy shit with you. Glad you could make it. See you guys later. Peace.